listening to Opinions and Beer.
Stone Cold Steve Austin knows that the Opinions and Beer podcast exists in this world. And opinions and beer. Two guys and another guy will never happen again.
I love this poster you have back there.
Oh yeah, actually it's a like a 5 by 4 foot painting on shotgun shells of Sub-Zero. So
wait, on shotgun shells,
dude, that is awesome. And that
yeah. So there's a pretty cool story to that too. The guy that did it is he's a real cool dude. He's a big fan of Mortal Kombat 2. And I was. Are we on right now?
We started as soon as we go. So just like.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we don't have much of a intro, you know.
We'll be good. We cut that into it.
Yeah. So what was pretty cool was my wife and I were walking around Laguna Beach, California, and we were just, my wife likes art galleries, so we were stopping in a few of them, and this guy was there, and his artwork was really cool. It was big, giant pieces painted on shotgun shells, and he did a lot of the Marvel characters. He did the guy that created Marvel. I forget what his name is. You said his name, I know, but
the big Stan Lee or the other guy.
Yeah, no, the other guy.
Yeah.
So he was just started talking to us, and my wife, he was saying, yeah, I love, the Warner Brothers characters, the Marvel stuff. And she said, do you ever play Mortal Kombat? And he said, oh yeah, I love Mortal Kombat. She goes, well, who's your favorite character? He goes, I really like Sub-Zero. And she goes, this is Sub-Zero right here. And he just kind of, started laughing. We started chatting, and he said he wanted to do a Sub-Zero painting. And I said, yeah, sure. So I gave him a picture of myself, and I posed like that. And then I sent it to him, and he painted it. And really cool dude. He's done a ton of work for a lot of people now. And he came out to the house. He had me look at it, and I said, made a few changes, and he took it back and came to the house and nailed it up on the wall for me. He was a real good guy. His name is Carl Socal, and he does all the different kinds of paintings. He's really good. It's bizarre. If you stand right up on it, you can't even really tell what it is. The only way you can really see is when you move back.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're talking about the fact that it's made of shotgun shells?
Yeah, and it's because there's little spaces in there. So when you're painting it, it's really hard. I mean, I don't understand how he gets it detailed and everything else, but you really got to, it's almost like you got to put a little mark, step back, and really look at it, to watch it come together. But
oh, man, really, that sounds really tedious. That's dedication right there.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? So how did you guys get going on this podcast? How did that come about?
Man, it just
we have a lot of opinions, and we like beer.
No. And funny enough, we share little opinions. It's more of just observations.
Yeah.
But observations and beer is a
less
mouthful.
Catchy. and yeah, it's not as catchy as a podcast name. But we've had a lot of projects before in the past, and we have a lot of other projects going on now. But it just seemed like this was like a culmination of a lot of our passions. We're beer connoisseurs. Yeah. We like to try different great beer, and we're nerds, dude. We talk about everything, about every fandom from Mortal Kombat to Warner Brothers and Marvel. I mean, that's a long list. You get what I mean. And so we basically just combine those together. How can we talk about beer and nerdy shit? And it's opinions of beer. That's how.
Yeah. So things are good here, man. I'm in San Diego. Weather today is kind of lousy, but it's normally pretty nice. So
yeah,
holy
from
shit! Chicago originally.
It's Sub-Zero. Yeah, Sub-Zero is on our damn screen right now.
I'm aware.
It's blowing my mind.
Just now, he's been there for a minute now.
Oh, this is Mr. John Turk.
My mind has been blowing. I've just been trying to be quiet about it.
We are here on Opinions and Beer talking to Mr. John Turk. He's portrayed Sub-Zero for a very long time. When did you start doing Sub-Zero? Was it Mortal Kombat 3?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 3 is when it began for me. And they had 1 and 2, obviously, and that was another guy, Daniel Pesina, did that one. Those two, actually. And then I guess in 3, people liked the Unmasked Sub-Zero, and it continued on into another game, Mythologies, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat, and everything else. And then it went really well, and they ended up having me do several other characters, and a lot of the ninjas were me as well, where they just kind of swapped out the colors. But like Shang Tsung, Scorpion, I did Ermac. The costumes were the biggest thing that were really rough. They were not fit well for a lot of movement, which is what we were doing. Everything was movement, actual martial arts moves. And they just kept falling off. And, when I was Shang Tsung, my beard would fly over to the side. And
yeah, like they were just made for looks, not for practicality.
Yeah. They weren't designed real well. So, but I had a great time doing it, and it was a lot of fun. I'm excited to see the movie now that it's come out. This one looks a little different than the other ones. From what I understand, they kind of made it more about Sub-Zero in this one. So it looks pretty cool. I like the trailer looked awesome. So we'll see what happens,
Oh yeah.
Now, like the Sub-Zero you play, like he was just explaining to me like Mortal Kombat lore that apparently I missed. Like the Sub-Zero you play is the brother of the first Sub-Zero, right?
Right. So I am the brother that of the guy in number 2, and I'm the younger brother. He's my older brother. And what happens is how I get the scar is Kano tries to come and get me and curses me with this slash on my face with what's called a cursed dagger. Yeah. And then I turn into this, become demonically influenced. And that's kind of how I move away from the Lin Kuei and so forth. So that was interesting. I didn't even, when they first cast me, and I had no clue.
And that's why, and that's how essentially Sub-Zero becomes a bad guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like the Sub-Zero, I guess it's hard, it's impossible to say right now, but I would assume, like I'm wondering, like what Sub-Zero in the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, what Sub-Zero is it? Is it your Sub-Zero or your older brother?
I think they are switching the roles to where the original Sub-Zero is the evil one,
and there is no second Sub-Zero
because he dies and he comes back and becomes Noob Saibot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I went online and I was reading some of the blogs, and everyone's got a different theory on which one it is or who it is. But what's interesting is sometimes they'll put a mask on with the scar, so it's like, okay, he's got a mask on.
It's like that's how back in the day, that's how you tell the difference. He has a mask, he doesn't, and he has a scar. You put a mask and a scar, now I don't know what to think.
Now it's confusing. It's hard enough to figure the plot out sometimes, and they make it real complicated, but there's a lot of these kids really know the plots, man. I'm like reading online, I'm like, I didn't even know that, so it's interesting. Like,
I remember, I was really young and I was just like, oh, fighting game. I missed a lot of the plot,
Yeah. A lot of the plots are pretty wild how they come up with them. But what I really liked about, what John Tobias and Ed Boon did was they also put little hidden messages in the game. And I feel that's what the movie was lacking, all the hidden messages. And that's what I feel a big part of Mortal Kombat. So I feel if they would have added us as cameo roles in all the movies, it'd have been really neat for the fans to look at and go, hey, there's John Turk, or hey, there's Rich DeVizio, or, there's
I've thought about that actually. Especially like they did that with the I can't remember, it was 2016 or 2017. The Power Ranger movie?
Okay.
2017?
Yes.
Yeah. The 2017 Power Ranger movie had the original actors for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as cameos. They could have easily done that with Mortal Kombat, and they totally should have.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I a couple of I think two of the guys, I think Rich DeVizio and I forget who the other guy was, were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. They were in that movie. So
yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So then when I did a commercial, right after I think Ultimate came out. It was a pretty crazy commercial, but they flew me and Rich DeVizio out there, and I had to do this big choreographed routine for this commercial, and it was 2 days of just 8 hours a day of all these acrobatic martial arts moves. And when I walked onto the set, it's on my YouTube channel, John Turk. It's I get there and I'm like beat up from 2 days of just all this crazy stuff. And they say to me, well, there's been a change of plans. And I'm like, oh, okay, what? And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to get even more crazier. You're just going to hang upside down and come down like you're coming out of a cocoon. And I'm like, what? I just killed myself for 2 solid days. and
sore head from toe. You're like, you tell me this now.
Yeah. So I did all that stuff. I mean, it was fun. I had a good time, but yeah, it was just then the hard part about it was I was hanging upside down for probably about on and off for 5 straight hours. So I had this pounding headache at the end of the day, and they had me in inversion boots. So after a while, when I'd get down, I'd be in these inversion boots, just always doing constant sit-ups to pull myself down. Well, one time I couldn't even get up. I'm like, hey, can somebody help me here? Because it was like, okay, cut, and then I could get down, and I must have did about 100 crunches by the end of the day, upside down. And yeah, it was people think a lot of these commercials and acting is easy, but when you look at some of these movies, like you look at Stallone in his movies, and who's the guy that just he was Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
he just did a movie that was pretty badass movie. He said he was just completely destroyed after, and I could totally see that.
Was it Extraction?
I just did
I was gonna say the one on Netflix.
Yes. Yeah, Extraction. You're right.
Man, I still ain't I'm gonna go watch that now. I've been like, I think I want to watch that. But now I really like hearing that he really like tried so hard that he beat the shit out of his body. Now I'm watching.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a great job, and especially how physical that role was. He had to be just after that thing was done filming, just take a month off of doing anything. It looked like a lot of stuff. I mean, every time you turned around, there was some major fight scene going on with 3 or 4 guys, and it was a lot of work, I imagine. So
yeah, I never could imagine someone like all that, like a commercial being so strenuous that like 2 hours, like 2 days of just straight martial art, or like hanging upside down or doing martial arts choreography. And it's like all you did was a commercial, and your body's just beat from head to hell, from head to toe.
Yeah.
Right, God.
Yeah, when I came in, Rich DeVizio had done it with me. He played Quan Chi in Mythologies, and he was also Kano.
Yeah.
And they had him like sticking this weird stuff in his mouth and bubbling it out. And I'm like, Rich, you know what that is? He goes, I don't know. He just told me to put it in my mouth, and it's, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, that stuff you'll see it in the video. It just looks disgusting. Something bubbling out of his mouth. And then he had to put this gel all over his hands to make it look like fire, because he's a sorcerer. Fire is coming out of his hands. I mean, they had a lot of special effects on that thing. And then they stuck these big, like the Incredible Hulk lenses in my eyes. And I had to wear those all day long. And it was brutal too, because after a while, your eyes are drying out. They're putting in these smoke machines. And it was an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Different from Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
now, you're not just Sub-Zero. You are literally Sub-Zero. I mean, you are the guy that people play as. This is like this is early, this is early motion capture. Motion capture technology. What was it like being a part of that and having to do that stuff where you're putting your literal face
body
on this game?
Yeah. Well, it's weird, because at the time I was a policeman in the Chicago area, and I just decided, hey, I'm going to try to do acting. And my first audition I got called for was for Mortal Kombat. And so it was an active audition. So you go in there, they wanted me to perform, and they wanted me to kick, punch, and stuff like that. And then they also wanted to see what I could maybe add to it, like, any other possible different types of martial arts styles. And I used to be a tumbler in gymnastics, so I could do flips and all kinds of stuff. So I think they were really, happy about that I could do acrobatic type stuff. And also I think I had the look they wanted too. Just I had a big square head, a muscular build. So and I was agile. So it just worked out really well. And my first acting experience ever was actually when I did Mythologies, and I had never acted before. They just kind of said, hey, we're going to do this thing here. And 2 other guys were actual actors. The guy that played Raiden in there, and also the guy that played I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he was one of the Lin Kuei guys. And so I was just getting pointers from them. They were saying, hey, when you do this, do this. And so I learned a lot just from them. And then just all the outtakes. I don't know if you guys went online and ever saw the outtakes, but there's some funny stuff in there, like between Rich and I, and Leah and I. And Leah was funny because she was just having a trouble with a few of the lines were just different. And she would walk up, and I'm doing it, and she'd screw up. And then the one time she finally got it right, I screwed up, and she's like, "I can't believe you did that. You screwed it up." And I was trying to do it again, like
that was her one shot.
And it was just funny. And then one time, what you'll see, I'm climbing up these stairs, and I'm like supposed to be looking down in this volcanic pit, and they got these goofy little wooden stairs that are real flimsy, and I'm supposed to be like walking up these crazy stairs. And I get to the top, man, and the thing like buckles on me, and it looks like I'm falling off of it. And then I fall, and I like drop down like 2 feet, you know. And so it's funny watching it when he replays it, you know. It's like, this is what we wanted to do. This is what you did, you know. It's just really crazy when you look at a green screen, you know. Like when the game came out, and I saw, you know, the kids playing in the arcades, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, wow, that's just wild how they did that. They just inserted another character in there, and all the punches and everything matched up, and I just never had seen that before. I mean,
like do you get to see what like the visualization is going to be before it's done, or like the first time you seen the game was the first time you seen actually what the scenes you did looked like finished? You didn't see that till the game was done.
Well, I saw some of them. They would come in there and they would show me basically on the green screen. They would stick the other guy in. I would see some of that, but I never saw the completely finished product where, you know, you punch him and he shoots through another wall and goes up top. You know, they showed me on like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, but I never saw myself in there. You know, I'm like, oh, okay. When I saw that, I just assumed, I didn't know anything about, you know, CGI or, you know, green screen. So when they were showing me, I just thought, wow, how did they do that? You know. But then
they didn't know anything about it either back then. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
So they had to straight up. You had to do every single move. Every single move you do, you had to do.
Like you had to go through the list for every single button combination.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they had a list.
Tedious.
Oh, okay. Now we got to do this. Okay, now we got to do this. And then for the running scenes, they had a little treadmill in there. And so when I first got on there, I'm like booking it out. You know, and he goes, "Oh, you can't go that fast. You got to go this." I'm like, that's not running. He goes, "Oh yeah, but we'll speed it up when you get in the game." And I'm like, I was running
like the character's doing like the slight jog, but they're running. You know?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to be Usain Bolt, and they're like, "No, slow down. We can't film that." You know,
the characters do like running kicks. I imagine they didn't try to get you to do like, all right, now while you're running on the treadmill, jump up and kick. No.
Yeah, no. So the hardest ones to do were the flying sidekicks. Yeah. Because it was just impossible to fit you into the frame. So I remember in one of mine, I started to jump, and then they sat me on a box.
I knew that's where you're going with this.
Yeah, and then they had me do the finished kick position.
Do the pose kick.
And then they just scrub it out. Yeah.
And then they just like click and drag your body wherever they need you.
Yeah. So what was really bizarre was I know how to do that kick, but when you do it in their frame, it just doesn't work because it's too fast. You fly from one area to the other.
Oh yeah, and they didn't catch a thing.
Yeah. So that was some of the stuff that surprised me too. They could just wash the whole thing. They could take the whole box I'm sitting on and just wipe it out, so it looks like I'm flying through the air. So yeah, it was pretty wild. My first taste of all that stuff, and then Mythologies was a lot of fun to do, just working with everybody, and long days though, you know, and you're wearing this costume all day long, but you get to know everybody. And then we went on tours and did, you know, electronic shows, and that was a lot of fun meeting. I really enjoy meeting the fans. Like I like doing the trade shows and all that stuff. It's really fun to meet people, especially like I had a kid send me an email the other day and on Instagram, just explaining how I affected his childhood growing up. And it's heartwarming to me to hear these stories, like these kids escaped a lot of bad things to play Mortal Kombat, like in their home. And
instead of being out on the streets, they wanted to get home and play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Instead of, you know, being in an abusive home or being out on the street, they said, "Man, your game saved my life. You know, playing your character because it got me off the streets or it got me out of an abusive home." And then I had stories of like a kid. I just heard one today that he was bullied in a bowling alley when he was a kid, and he challenged the kid to a Mortal Kombat game, and you know, embarrassed the kid and you know, showed this kid up. So it was really cool to hear the stories of how Mortal Kombat like affected everyone's life differently, and I like hearing them all. It's fun, you know. And it's cool. And I'll be honest, like I did this video, and I think I showed it to you guys. That video I just did recently.
Yes.
And you know, the thing we say is, you know, we're nothing without the fans, and it's fun to hear the stories. And I got to say, the Mortal Kombat fans are the nicest, the coolest, and down to earth people I've ever met. You know, I've never had anybody like when I was a fitness model. I did some stuff too, and people would come up and they're just rude, you know. But I've done so many shows and I've done so many signings. Yeah, everybody is just so cool, and then they bring their kids up, and their kids are like into it, you know, and you know the dad's passing it down to the kid. I'm shocked at how much this game has lived on. You know, it's actually a cult following now.
Yes.
You know?
It's still going.
You know, I had to, like, it doesn't surprise me now, but I remember having that thought, like, wow, Mortal Kombat's still a thing. You know, like, and they just keep adding to it and stuff. And you played Sub-Zero all the way till Armageddon, didn't you?
Well, it's his portrayal. It's his portrayal because
whenever you're credited to that Sub-Zero, like it's because it's your Sub-Zero that continues on all the way till Armageddon.
Because at some point they do switch. Well,
what happens is,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, that's right.
They do switch at some actual CG gameplay, blah blah blah.
Well, no, I think it was Mortal Kombat. What was that? It was like one of the first PS2 ones where they switched
Deadly
to
Alliance.
No, it was before Deadly Alliance.
Deadly Alliance was the first PS2.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Then no, I'm
I
telling
can't
you,
say that like I know, but I
gosh,
thought I knew.
Darn it, Keenan. There was one before it, and they switched to like 3D models where it was like polygon. It was and he was technically still. It was still based off him because you could see his face, but it wasn't him. It was just they digitally made a cartoon version of him.
Yeah.
And so so it's technically
but
him.
Still,
it's
it's his portrayal of Sub-Zero, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the action figures, but they're like getting less and less looking like me, you know, and I'm like,
it's like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's like this kid sent it to me. He goes, man, what the hell is this? Doesn't even look like you. I'm like, it doesn't. All it does is have a little bit of a square head, but it's got a completely different nose, mouth, eyes, everything, you know. And it's just like, I think what they're afraid of is they don't want to have to pay either a royalty or something. But, you know, I mean, Warner Brothers, I think, has the rights to all the Mortal Kombat stuff now because they bought it. And I think there's a place called NetherRealm Studios that is a subsidiary or part of Warner Brothers now, and they're working alongside them. So, I was gonna try and do this thing where I would make up these T-shirts, and I would go to signings and bring the T-shirts with me. And I had called, I think it was Ed Boon or John Tobias, and asked them, and they said, "Well, we don't have any say in that anymore. Warner Brothers bought all the rights." So I tried to get a hold of people at Warner Brothers. It's so hard to get a hold of anybody. You know, you bounce from one phone to another, and then they tell you I'll call you back, and they never do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and they make it like that. It's like by design that it's like that, you know?
Yeah, right. So, you know, it's like I did that video recently trying to get fans to contact Warner Brothers, but several of them got back to me and they said, "Hey, man, we tried, but they put you on hold. They never answer the phone." And I'm like, "Thanks for trying. You know, it's cool, but maybe one day they'll start putting us in those films, you know, in cameo roles. I think it'd be pretty cool." But
yeah, man, I really hope so. I mean, a lot of you,
absolutely,
especially you and Richard DeVizio. Y'all are still doing stuff, aren't y'all?
Yeah.
There's a few of y'all that are still doing things.
Yeah. And like I have a movie I'm going to be in coming out this year. They were kind of waiting to see when the theaters would open, and they just started opening some of them in San Diego, but. And then they're going to let us know when it'll be out, but it's called Wolfhound, and it's a World War II movie. And I play one of the main bad guys in it. A pretty good cast and crew and director and stuff. So it'll be a really good film, and I'll put a message out and let everybody know when it comes out, and go check it out.
Absolutely. You said it's called Wolfhound?
Wolfhound, yeah. And it's based on a true story. It's about a World War II Jewish American pilot who gets shot down in Germany. He's an American pilot, but and then he tries to, you know, get away, but they end up you know, capturing his plane. And what they're trying to do is, make a long story short, is the people don't know this, but Germany had a bomb, and they were trying to use Trojan horses to go bomb like the rest of the Europe countries. And so that's kind of what it's about. In my area that I'm in, I'm the one running this area where we're trying to capture these planes from the Allies and use them as Trojan horses. So it's based on a true story. So it's pretty neat, you know. I mean, as horrible as the Holocaust was, there's some good stories that definitely are coming out of that thing of heroism and everything else. So.
Absolutely. Like you said, what interests me is, you know, like you said, that's a true story. And I've heard many true stories of like what might have been about World War II. And that's like mind boggling to me to think like, had they succeeded, how things would have been different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy when you think about it. I mean, yeah, it's like we'd probably be speaking German hadn't they not, you know, gotten rid of it.
I mean, you live in California, so it's going to be soon.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Bro, inappropriate.
I'm sorry I had to throw that one in.
No, like one of the biggest questions
I ain't disagreeing with you.
I have a whole list of questions here.
No, God.
Sure.
I did not like. It was one of my. He just informed me of something, and I was like, "Oh, bro, that changes my questions entirely." Because he just told me that you were in Prison Break.
Yeah. I tried to kill.
It's been
Lincoln.
years, but oh man, like I used to love that series and watched like every episode. At least I watched the whole series twice. Who the hell were you? No.
Well, actually, you know what's bizarre about that is when I auditioned for the role, the character's name was Turk, and that's my nickname because my last name's Turk, and everybody calls me Turk. So when I went in for the audition, I did it, and then I got called back, and I was before the director and producers, and there's like 8 people in a room, you know, just staring at you. And the director says, "Wait a minute." He goes, "Your name's John Turk, and the role is Turk." And he goes, "That's too much of a coincidence, you know." And then I read for him, and they ended up liking it, so I got on the show, and that was my character was Turk on there. So if you on my YouTube channel, I have it on there. The scenes that I was in 2 days of filming, and I tried to kill Lincoln, and he ends up tossing me off of a balcony and landed on my head, basically. So, but it was a really good time.
Was it like early in the series, or was it after they got out of prison?
Yeah,
obviously, there's no balcony in prison.
Yeah, it was episode 1. I think it was season 1, episodes 5 and 6. Was
I guess there are balconies in prison. They're in prison the whole first season, right?
Yeah.
Right. It was the episode's called Riots, Drills, and the Devil, I think.
The parts I remember the least are the parts where they're actually trying to break out of the prison in the show called Prison Break. Then they have 7 other seasons after they get out of prison, and it goes into conspiracies and government, and they haven't talked about prison since season 1. They're on season 8. It was a crazy series, but man, I'm gonna go back and watch it.
Yeah, they actually shot it in Joliet Prison in Chicago, which is a legitimate jail, and it's really old. It's actually a pretty cool looking jail. It's like from 1800s, and it's made of stone. It looks like a castle. And the room we were in was the old boiler room, and it was where like garbage and stuff would be. And I remember when I'm one of the things about me, people who know me, I'm pretty anally clean, you know. My house is pretty meticulously clean. Yeah, so I get in there and they're like, "Yeah, you know, you're gonna land in here and you're gonna play dead for a little while he talks to you." And I'm looking at the floor and I could just tell it's just nasty, grimy, and dirty, and it's disgusting. And I look at the guy, go, "Do you mind if I wipe the floor down?" He goes, "Yeah, because we'll be able to see it." I go, No, I'll just lay on the spot. So I get out this big thing of Clorox. I'm Cloroxing the floor, and I look and I'm like, "Oh crap, man! I just cleaned the whole floor. It's this big white spot."
And they're like, "We needed that dirt," you know.
Yeah. So I just laid on the spot, you know. And the funny thing, I was watching it with 2 of my friends when it first came on, and then he stops the video. And he goes, "Dude, do not tell me you laid on that floor." And then I started laughing. I go, "No, I cleaned it with bleach," and they actually got mad at me for cleaning it, you know. So that was pretty funny. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's weird, you know, when you see the.
They're like, "We're paying you to lay in filth."
Yeah. I mean, it was just great, you know. And a lot of people just do it anyways, you know, but I didn't want to pick up something for life off that floor, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. They're like, "No, man, the filth is in the script."
Yeah, right. But yeah, that was fun. I mean, I did a few other things. I did Walker, Texas Ranger years ago. That was actually my second job after Mortal Kombat. And
see, like I've watched very little of that. Like I enjoyed it, like as a kid, like when my parents were watching it, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Do you
that's ageist?
Yeah, I know that is. That's me being ageist. But what happened? Do you remember the exact episode and season you were in? I'm sure that kind of thing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that I can't remember that one. I did it so long ago. I did that, gosh, years ago. But I went in. It was shot in Texas. They flew me down to Texas, and the guy I did my scene with was Andy Devoff. And Andy Devoff is a guy that you don't know his name, but if you see him, you know him. Really cool dude. And he turned out to be a huge Mortal Kombat fan. So I did my scene, and and so he we're just talking, and he says, what have you done before? And I said, you ever played Mortal Kombat? He goes, oh yeah, love that game. I was Sub-Zero in it, and he just right away just a million questions because he was trying to form his own game. So we stayed in touch a little bit. He was asking me questions about how we did this, that, and the other thing. But Andy Devoff he played Gans in 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
he was Cherry Gans.
Yeah, the name
you'll know him. He's got and he also, if you saw the movie Toy Soldier, he played the drug cartel guy that took them all hostage. And you'll know him if you see him. He's one of those. Really good actor too. But so he, I met him on there and Chuck Norris, and it was a real fun time. That was my second job, and you could tell it was my second job. And I look back on it. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I acted like that. That was fun, man.
What was your better experience, Transformers or Dark Knight?
Well, Transformers, I was on only for 2 days, and it was that one scene. But Dark Knight, I was on for. Dark Knight was interesting because I did an audition for a part on it, and the part I auditioned for was the one that he's the big black dude with the weird eye. He just passed away. He's looking out this window, and he comes over and gives the guy a key. I auditioned for that, and they ended up giving him the role. But the guy said, "Hey, we like you. We want to use you for something else." But so just it's not over with. So I go, okay, cool. Well, like 2 months goes by, and I get a call from my buddy because I do stunts too. And he says, "Hey man, you want to play in a garage scene, or we need a fight scene to do?" Because I can do fight scenes pretty good, obviously. And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I ended up being in the parking garage for like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden my agent calls me and says, "Hey, you got that part?" And I said, "What part? What movie?" And she goes, "Dark Knight." I said, "What part is that?" She goes, "Well, they passed on the other one, but they wanted you for this other part. It's a Chechen bodyguard." And I'm laughing. I'm like, "That's what I'm playing right now on the stunt crew." So they said, "Well," I said, "How many days does it shoot?" And they said, "Well, it only shoots 2 days." I said, "I'm on the stunts for this. I'd rather do the stunts. I've been on it for a month, and they're going to keep me on here more." And she goes, "Okay, well, they might not want you to do that." So then they call back and says they'll pay you for the acting part, and they'll keep you on as a stunt part afterwards, but they want you for this part. So it really worked out pretty cool. So I got the acting part, and then I got the stunt part too, and the two kind of merged together. So what's really strange is that's the part they were thinking of me for, and it ended up being a stunt part too. So it all worked out good. But my lines got cut out, in all these big movies, they always cut things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool thing to do too. I mean, I was on the midnight shift, and it was really hard because they had two crews, and they had a midnight one that was going from like 11 at night to 7 in the morning, and then they had the other one. And so I was like going almost a month with no sleep because I worked as a trainer at the time too. I left the police department, so I would work and train my clients during the day, and then I would go back and work all night. I'd get like 2 hours sleep a day, and I mean, I was like stir crazy by the end of it, and it was just it was insane. And I don't even know how I did it, but after a while, you're running on fumes and stuff like that. But yeah, that was fun. Dark Knight was much better to work on. Transformers was crazy. Michael Bay's a bit of he definitely likes his sets run very strict and on time. And so he was definitely the kind of guy where, you're a little on edge when you're working on a set because he really is, bang, 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 wants things done and that. And Shia LaBeouf is pretty, he's actually a pretty tough little, like I had a little skirmish with him where we fall over the hood of a car. And then I get on top of him, and he wasn't a typical, like I've been in some scenes before with other actors, and they're just not the let's just say the toughest people. But Shia LaBeouf was a tough guy. He was
the dude got his tooth removed just to be more accurate and fury,
Yeah,
that doesn't shock me. Like, that adds up. Shia LaBeouf being tough, I can believe that.
He wasn't a typical wussy actor. So
yeah, and that kind of like makes me like he tried to come off as like a tough guy greaser in the Indiana Jones movie. That just hearing that makes me that role a little bit more believable.
Yeah. He's got a lot of things going on with his personal life. It seems like he's had some incidents in the press, and feel for some of these guys. He's basically a down to earth guy, but I think a lot of these big time celebrities, after a while, you get really sick of people coming at you, and then the press following you. It's got to be hard.
Oh, absolutely.
To have these paparazzi all over you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah, the guy that played Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, like that, the being a celebrity drove him to alcoholism. He became a huge drunk just because he couldn't stand how everyone on the face of the planet knew who he was and wanted to talk to him.
No comment.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just know 10 people and they drive me to alcoholism.
Yeah, sometimes our own families drive us to alcoholism, right?
Oh God. Speaking of getting fat off alcohol, you just turned 59, but you're still looking like a badass.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
you do
man.
this whole
Thanks,
the fearless fitness. What inspires you to stay in shape and then even go on to help others stay in shape?
Originally my whole reason to stay in shape was I was afraid of dying. I had a lot of people when I was younger. My best friend was shot in the throat and cleaning his grill in the backyard. And it really impacted me because when I went to the wake and I saw him there dead at 13 years old, it really flipped me out. Here I was talking to him, hanging out with him.
Oh yeah,
just a funny kid, full of life, and then here he is. He's dead, and it just really impacted me.
That, yeah.
And then I just became ultra worried about my health, and I became like a hypochondriac. And then I just got into working out basically because I was wrestling when I was really young. My neighbors were really good wrestlers, and I'd wrestle with them, and they just basically kicked my ass, And I found that they were always stronger than me. And I said, I just got to get stronger. So when I was 13 is when I began lifting weights to get better at wrestling. And then as time went on, I just didn't like wrestling. I kept getting different skin infections, and I got impetigo, I got staph infection, I got ringworm, and I just was over it. And then the final straw for me, little story short here, the final straw for me with wrestling was, we were in practice and one of the guys just stunk like hell. And I ended up wrestling him, and I just jumped off him. I said, man, you smell so bad. And he started laughing, and he said, well, that's why I smell bad. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, because guys like you can't take it. And I screw their game up. And I just realized that all these guys I wrestled that stunk probably were just like him. And I said, I had enough of wrestling, man. And I just moved on. Yeah.
Oh man.
And that's when I got into martial arts, I started,
that's
I like
very
martial
sportsman.
arts.
You're not winning on your prowess if you win because you stink,
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Everybody tried to find some way to get an advantage. And, whatever that advantage is, like I watched the UFC, and a lot of these guys cover the other guy's mouth. I mean, everyone's looking for the slightest advantage, because when you get really good competition after a while, every little bit matters. I just read this thing about the British cycle team that they were constantly losing year after year, and what this guy did is he did what are called micro changes in all their training. So he made them change their jerseys, their helmets. He made them eat at certain times, and all these what are called micro changes came together. And the Brits became one of the best cycling teams in the world because of this guy. And it wasn't like they got one thing. It was a culmination of all these micro changes that made them better. So a lot of people laugh, when they think, what are you doing that for? It's not going to make a difference. It's called a totality of the circumstance or situation where they all make an effect. So all these little things these guys do, they all have an impact in the long run. You never know. They might meet a guy like me who didn't like, I actually didn't want to wrestle a guy. I just gave up because he smelled so bad. I couldn't take it, His armpit was rolling across my face, and I'm just like, this is disgusting, Then I got impetigo, and I'm like
anyone would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but A lot of guys didn't, but they kept going, you know.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
they got more heart than me, I guess.
You know, and I know exactly what you mean. Like, man, it's so weird talking about my job when you're Sub-Zero and I work at Little Caesars. Oh but no, I worked at a Little Caesars. It was not doing well. Had a bunch of crappy employees. It was a dirty store. I'm not gonna get into that.
Yeah,
but like, I know exactly what you mean because my boss, the dude who hired me, he came into Little Caesars. And he was given this store to turn it around. And that is exactly how he's turned it around. And he's literally talked about that and the logic behind it of micro changes.
Yeah,
so
micro
I know
changes.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book on that, and it's on. I just listened to it on YouTube. It's all about that, and it talks just like that's what you do. Like even like when you look in the bodybuilding world, a lot of these guys are so close. Just little changes make a difference, including, you know, where you put your dye at, you know, and, you know, the African-American bodybuilders, people don't realize, but they put dye on too. Like you would never think that they would have to, but your skin has to be a certain tone. So like some guys will come up there, they just don't have the skin tone down, and it really makes a difference. So it's amazing how these little changes here and there and everything. Now I want you to think of this, guys. I was at the amateur level, you know, in high school. And now think of the pros, what these guys got to do, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are just born with God-given talent and they throw it out, which is sad. A lot of them don't even do anything. And then they end up, you know, they're done after a while. But, you know, here I am, I'm almost 60 years old. I'm still working out for free. You know, I still take care of myself. But as I've gotten older, you know, I'm not afraid of dying so much anymore at all. I'm actually not afraid of it all. Just I kind of, not to sound cliche, but I found God, and it's put my mind at ease, so I don't have to worry about a lot of that I used to worry about when I was younger. So, but yeah.
Now all you got to do is move to Texas,
stuff.
And you'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I support that.
Yeah, no kidding. Huh? Yeah, I love Texas. I actually lived in Houston. I lived in Houston for a year.
Oh, that's cool. That makes me happy.
Yeah, you know, I got a buddy down there. You can watch some of his videos. He runs a bow fishing charter service, and he's absolutely insane what he does. He jumps in the water. He does that noodling where he sticks his arm into the side of the water and pulls out these giant catfish, and his arm's bleeding. And it's called Big Fishing, Bow Fishing Texas. If you get a chance, check him out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's an insane dude. I knew him when I lived down in Texas. I stay in touch with him. He's got a thriving business down there because it's pretty cool. If you watch some of his videos, you guys might be interested in going on one of his charters. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, where's his charter based out of?
He goes on like the Brazos River. He goes on the Trinity, and he goes on those rivers down there and just, you know, fishes all day long. And he goes and like he has this busy season where he's not home for 6 months, you know. He's got people from Russia, from all over Europe coming in to do his charters. And he pulls out these 200-pound alligator gar out of the water. And it just big. Think of an alligator with no arms and legs. It's a fish that looks like an alligator.
Oh, yeah. I've seen me some gar. I know about
Yeah. You guys are in Texas, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, like, man, I grew up on the bayou around gators and gars and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the southeast part. We're like on the border of Louisiana.
Over here. Sure.
Like
so I'm looking at
stuff.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Lake Conroe over the bad weather you guys had, that big storm.
Yeah,
they canceled everything on me.
Yeah, your fault.
Yeah,
because you're Sub-Zero.
Yeah, it was my fault. Yeah.
See, you plan on coming to Texas and the whole state freezes over. You know?
Yeah, some kid did a meme on that. It was pretty funny.
Coincidence? I think not.
The whole state of Texas.
That's funny. Oh man.
Yeah.
So, Keenan, do you have any other questions that you wanted to throw out there?
Aren't you? You're in Godzilla versus Kong, aren't you?
No.
No, that was the other. Yeah, now I feel dumb because that's another Mortal Kombat guy.
Cabal.
Yeah.
Oh my, he gets so confused. We're doing Mortal Kombat month at the moment.
Yeah. Well, really, to be honest, I did a lot of research. You know, like I know about your Mortal Kombat history, and really that's it. Like it's like blowing my mind to find out like how much like you're actually in and stuff.
I keep a lot of stuff secret so that
it's like,
minds are blown.
Yeah, see, like, and also he's the one that does the research on personality. But like, and you know, like again, I did a bit of research, and I knew you did some acting, and like the big stuff. But like Texas Ranger, you know, like I ain't thought about that show in ages, and it really like amuses me and blows my mind to know that you're in Texas Ranger. Like I am gonna research and watch that episode.
yeah. And then Vince Vaughn, I had a scene in the breakup with Vince Vaughn. Good little scene, and with him.
Oh, what? Then, really? I remember the breakup. Well, which scene were you in?
Was in. Yeah.
So what interesting with that is I did a bar scene where I come in and I take his girl from him, and we did a lot of like improv back and forth because he's a big improv guy. He goes by the script a little bit, and then he goes, okay, let's just do whatever, you know. And for me, I'm a guy that's always prepared. It was kind of threw me off a little bit, but I'm like, it's Vince Vaughn. He wanted me to improv. We'll do it, you know. So we did, and it went over really well. But it turned out that they decided to go a different direction with the movie, like make it a little more serious. And my scene was a comedy scene. So you know, I've never had this happen, but the director called me, said, John, we loved your scene, but our movie went a different direction. We're going to keep it in the deleted scene. So they kept my scene if you get the DVD, it's in the deleted scene. It's called Gary's Pickup. And he's actually pretty funny, Vince Vaughn. It just even offset, you know. He's another guy that's he's another guy that's real serious about his movies. He wants everything on time. If you're, you know, goofing off too much, he gets on people. He's definitely a serious kind of guy when it comes to his movies. So, but yeah, he's tall. He's about 6'6", man. He was like maybe short.
Just because like I'm not, you know, that sounds about right. Like just the way he talks and his delivery. Like a lot of it sounds like, that's improv. Like, you know, hearing that it's improv, it's like, oh, that's why he's so rapid fire, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird that he's so funny that you almost forget how tall he is.
Yeah.
You forget how tall he is. You're like,
yeah, he's.
I guess so. Like, I guess you're too busy laughing to.
No, I don't know. Because, well, he just did that movie Freaky, where he's like a serial killer, and now you're like, oh, look, he's actually kind of like a towering guy.
Oh yeah,
and he's killing people.
Really, Freaky's existence.
I
so
didn't even hear about
when he's in comedies, he comes off as kind of like a shorter person because short people are funny.
Yeah. You know, you think about it. I mean, look at you know, Chris Rock and the guy that was in the movie with The Rock, the smaller guy. He's
Sean William Scott or Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Kevin Hart, smaller guy. Yeah, you said the movie with The Rock, smaller guy, Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Hey, did you guys ever see that picture of him and Shaq standing next to each other?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is ridiculous.
Isn't it? It's crazy. I'm looking at thinking, oh my God, you don't realize.
Is that a child? No, that's Kevin Hart.
Well, the other one you want to look at Yao Ming next to Shaq, and you're like, wow, how big is Yao Ming? He makes Shaq.
Oh, I know. He makes Shaq look short. You know? I didn't know humans got that tall.
Yeah, I can't imagine Kevin Hart next to Yao Ming. It's just a whole other dimension there. But
one thing I did want to talk to you about is like I was very, very interested in the fact that you were a cop around the Chicago area, and like what drove you? Like did you spend a lot of time thinking, oh man, when I grow up I'm gonna be a cop, or it was a sudden revelation?
Yeah, so that's a whole nother story. So at the time I was living in Houston, and my friend I lived with that I was hanging out with down there, he was from Chicago. We kind of went down together, and he was a policeman in the metro area where I worked. And I decided after a year, I said, man, I just didn't like Houston. It was just too hot and humid for me, you know?
Oh yeah.
And,
I know.
And I liked the city, and it just didn't have a city feel to it. So I just told my buddy, I said, hey man, you know, I'm going to go back to Chicago. He goes, what are you going to do there? You know? And I go, I don't know. He goes, you should be a cop. You know, I think they'd hire you. You know, got your act together, you're in shape, and it's a really good job. And I go, I'll think about it. So I got home and still didn't know what I want to do. And I saw that this metro area was hiring. So I went and just filled out an application. And when they called everybody for the initial orientation, there was 400 guys there for one job. And I walked in, and I'm like seeing all these other policemen trying to apply for this job from other, you know, metro areas. And I said, I'm not going to get this job. What am I even doing here? I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, I'll just apply anyways, you know?
Yeah,
so then the first part of it.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? So the first test is the written exam, and they only take like the top 20%. And I made it. So I got in, and so then as time went on, you know, it's about 6 months of testing. I kept passing and passing and passing. And then finally, I'm like, I get down to the psychological exam, which I thought I would fail, but I didn't. And so, yeah, I took that and I passed. And then they're like, the next stage is the police and fire commission list. And I had no idea how many people were left. I go, wow, I can't believe I made it this far. There must still be like, 30 people left or something, And so the commission called me and they said, hey, we got some good news. And just we're going to have our interviews now, and your interviews for this period of time. I said, okay. I said, how many people are left? And she goes, only 10. And I'm like, holy cow, I made it. I'm one of 10. So I did the oral interviews, and when the oral interviews were over, it was funny at the time. I just came back from Texas, and I had really long hair. I had a mullet. My hair was literally like Billy Ray Cyrus. So I took my mullet during the interview. Yeah. And I rolled it into a big long ponytail and I stuffed it down the back of my suit, but you could see it,
Hope that no one
and one of the guys when I walked into the interview had Well, one of the guys when I walked in had a big long ponytail, and I'm like, okay, this guy's cool. He's gonna, not judge me or whatever. So I walked in, and one of the things they said to me at the end of my interview was, we could see you got really long hair. Would you cut your hair if you got hired? And I said, hey man, I'll shave it off if you want me to, I just threw that out there, and they laughed, and then I left. And then about a week later, the secretary called me and she says, well, I got some good news and a bad news. The good news is, or the bad news is, you're number 2 on the list. I'm like, oh, bummer, and she said, but the good news is they decided to hire 2 people. Do you want the job? And I said, she goes, I'll give you a week to think about it. I go, I don't need to think about it. I go, yeah, I'll take it, and it was just bizarre. Here I am. I'm a cop now, and so yeah, I got hired, and the guy I got hired with left after a year. He went to the LAPD, and a crazy story about it so I was a training officer, and my friend Ron had already worked for the police department in another area. He was a former policeman, got hired when I did. So he already had police experience. So when he went to LA and I finally went to the street after the police academy, he ended up his first day on the street, he shoots and kills a guy. Could you imagine that? Yeah, he gets out on a traffic stop and a guy pulls a gun on him, and Ron was a good shot.
And that's in LA?
Yeah. But what was wild was when I was in a police academy, you guys remember Mr. T, right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Mr. T? So Mr. T's brother was my defensive tactics instructor. Yeah. Really, really super cool guy. His last name is actually Tiro. So yeah, for 3 months, he was my DT guy, along with another guy named Jim Marsh, who were just insane guys. Like Jim Marsh was he worked on the zombie squad, and they would throw him into like drug houses, and he would just drag people out. The first day of the academy, he gets in and he holds up a stun gun, and he starts talking, and he's zapping himself with the stun gun, and he's not moving, and he's just talking. And he goes, I just did this to show you guys that these things are garbage. They don't work. And then if somebody goes, you weren't stinging yourself. And he goes, come here. He lifts up his shirt, and his skin has these giant red, holes in it.
Yeah, and it's like they're mosquito bites to him. They're nothing.
Yeah. So we had to get stung with the stun gun, which still hurt. I don't know how the guy stood there and talked, and all he did was flex his stomach. So, there were some bad dudes in that police academy. So
yeah, it's from years of giving that one presentation of just stunning himself over and over. He built it up,
Yeah, he probably numbed his whole side, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there were guys when I was a policeman that I got sprayed with pepper spray. We had to get sprayed with, and they would film us. So in case we ever went to court for, cruel and unusual punishment, we'd say, hey man, we did it to ourselves. But there were guys that I literally took my whole can and emptied it in their mouth, and it was coming out of their mouth, through their mouth and out their nose. That's how much I sprayed them, because they just wouldn't stop fighting. And it didn't even stop certain people. And pepper spray was far worse than a stun gun. And if you encounter someone on meth, it's insane what they can put up with. It'll blow your mind.
Like, I know what you mean. Yeah. Like they're just, I don't know. It's just like their body's unstoppable and their mind's gone,
Yeah. I don't even think Sub-Zero could handle that much pepper spray.
Yeah. If he gets freeze the spray before it got to him, but if it gets to him,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. That's brutal.
What? This is probably a little, weird to talk about, but not too weird. I mean, opinions and beer. What's your opinions on some of the media, how the media portrays police work, and they don't really. what you're telling us is like that's kind of deep
like
because it's
you
kind of
being
like
a cop and all. You're
it's
talking about
kinda-
like defund the police. And all that
yeah,
shit.
because just a lot of things about police work seems a lot harder than it is portrayed by the media, where they don't portray like, oh, why don't you just stun them? Why don't you just pepper spray them? Well, it doesn't work on like police officers have to encounter craziness almost every day.
Yeah, like sometimes about, like there's people out there that don't even they can't even contemplate like, oh, why didn't you just try to pepper spray that meth head? I was like, because like he's like I did, it didn't work. Like you said, I emptied the can.
Yeah. I mean, these people, when they're on drugs and they're what people don't realize about the Rodney King incident, which was, it was horrible what happened to the guy, but people don't realize there was 3 other guys arrested and handcuffed in the squad car that didn't get beat up and were just in there and didn't fight back. But Rodney King was high, and he, there's a whole nother video that no one saw, and the media selectively played what they wanted to play. And they were wrong, but you got to realize, being a cop and he just beat up, 3 or 4 of your fellow police officers, you get caught up in a moment. And I'm not condoning what they did, especially when he's on the ground laying there. But all I'm telling you is he was a big dude, Rodney King. He was 6'5", 280, and he was taking police out left and right. And when you're on the job and this happens, you're still a human, and you get amped up when you're getting pounded on, and it's hard to turn off. And when you're
and he's taking your friends out left and right. These are your partners and your colleagues.
Yeah. So you're in a life or death situation. You're a person just like anyone else. You're training. You get trained here and there. It's not something you're doing on a daily basis. And what people don't realize is, when you're a policeman, you literally go from 0 to 200 miles an hour in 1 second, because 1 minute you could be just getting gas for your car and somebody's shooting at you.
Oh yeah.
So now you're making split second.
Next minute you're stopping a robbery or what have you.
Yeah. You can't train for any of that. And I had so many situations where I don't even know how I even functioned in some of them, like, you go into a bar fight or you walk into a domestic call, and it's just insane what people go through. Like, I remember being on I became a detective, and I would work with Chicago police directly a lot of times. And I just remember going to the projects and some of the stories they would tell me. Like, I remember I want to walk up to the elevator to take the elevator, and they start laughing. They go ahead and do that if you want. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, they're going to pee on you through the elevator. And I'm just like, what do you mean they're going to pee on me? So they would never take the elevators, and they would pot shot at the police. I mean, it's just really, really bad situation. So people need to stop and give the police a break. Listen, there's bad people in every profession, but what these guys deal with day in and day out, especially in a city like Chicago, for you to sit there and cut these poor guys down. Go after the bad ones. We'll stick to Derek Chauvin in jail. He's guilty,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever
the bad ones are the bad ones, and it doesn't, I know what you mean. Like, I don't know. It's hard to put it into words. Like, the whole police department is being affected by the bad ones, and there are good ones out there.
Right.
Even if there's a lot of bad ones and a little bit of good ones. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's a lot of people's arguments. Like, when you say, dude, there's good cops out there, they're like, yeah, like 5, All right, but even though it's like, no. Like, the whole entire police department shouldn't be held accountable because there are bad cops out there. It's like impossible to weed it out to make sure that there's not one bad cop in America. That's physically impossible.
It's impossible. But you got to realize something too. It's like, first of all, like you just said, there are bad cops. But I worked for almost 10 years. I've met thousands of policemen from other areas and so forth. I never met one guy that was overtly racist or overtly mean.
He took the job to hurt people and that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, people say stuff behind closed doors. I never, ever heard anybody saying like outwardly racist things. It just, I mean, what the media has done to the police in our country is disgusting. And if a cop's a racist, he's going to get found out, and it's going to come out, and they're going to get brought to the surface. And if he doesn't, there's more corruption in that department, and it needs to be taken apart, So where I came from, I never saw it, and it's just sad to see that there's so many good cops out there that are putting their lives on the job every day, and they're being just spit on. I'm getting a lot of thought. Like, I have a lot of respect for cops, and that's like
that's a new development. You know, like I grew up, like I wasn't that much of a little shit, but you know, like I like to party. You know, like
right.
You know, when I was a teenager, there was the list of drugs I wouldn't do was a very short list. You know, so like, you know, I had my run-in with cops, and it's like I remember my logic for wanting to talk shit on the cop and make the cop out to be the one that's a piece of shit and not me, because it's like it's just easier that way. If the cop's more worse than the bad guy, then he's the one in the wrong. He's the one wronging you. You're the you've done nothing wrong. You're the victim here because he's abusing you, but that's because you're resisting arrest. And it's like, well, you know, like, oh, drugs should, you know, I remember the whole logic of thinking like that cop, even though I'm the one that got caught with drugs, he's trying to take me to jail. I'm resisting the arrest. In my mind, he's the bad guy, you know, and it's just, you know, and those are the people painting the picture of police in the media. They're like, oh, well, he beat the shit out of me. Well, like, he chased you for 45 minutes, you know? Of course he beat the shit out of you when he got you.
You know, what I think, guys, is I blame the media, because what they've done is they've taken one side of the story and they've made it way bigger, and they've emphasized it, and they've divided our country, especially against the police. It's the worst thing that they could have ever done, because the police, you need the police. Defund the police is insane to me. And
another thing I thought about is how people and it still has, it's kind of like in the same ballpark of what I just said, but like people just so don't want to be held accountable to their actions, right? And it's like, you know, it's, of course you got like those moments where a cop gives a guy a break, you know, guy gets caught with a little bit of marijuana, the cop takes the marijuana, he's like, this is a warning, you know, just like quit doing this shit, but I'm gonna let you go, you know? All right, but then like you got the merciless cop, you get caught with a little bit of marijuana, and that cop's like, well, marijuana is illegal, and he charges you to the full extent of the law. That cop is not a bad guy, all right? Because there are merciless, you know, like that cop was had a little less mercy than the other cop. Doesn't mean he did anything wrong. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Doesn't mean he made a bad decision. Doesn't mean his morals need to be questioned. He is doing his job to the T, and he has the right to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's
like, you know, civilians don't think about that. Like, I literally did not think about, my brother was caught with an ounce of marijuana. All right. And the cop took the ounce of marijuana and he gave him a warning. He said, all right, I'm taking this ounce of marijuana, but that is all I'm doing. You consider this a warning. You go home, quit fucking up, and have a nice day. You know? Yeah. And he let my brother go. Like, 3 days later, I get caught with a little half of a joint. All right. And thinking, what just happened to my brother? This just happened to my brother. He was caught with an ounce. Yeah. That is so many joints. Oh, God. All right. So I immediately, and of course, like, you know, I've always tried to give cops a benefit of the doubt, even when I'm the bad guy. So like I pull out the joint and you know, and like, he's like, you know, and he straight up said, like, if you're honest, it'll make a huge difference. And I didn't hesitate. Pulled out that joint. Here you go, sir. He pulled out the handcuffs. He brought my ass to jail. And, you know, I was bitter about it. And I've given it a lot of thought. And it's like, in no way, form, or fashion is that cop a bad guy. What he did wasn't bad. You know what I'm saying. You were a cop. You
know, here's what I will say. People always ask me, what do I do when I encounter the police? And I'll just say right off the bat, the best thing you can do is to just be nice, because especially in this day and age, the police, every time they go to a call in Chicago, they got to send 8 or 9 guys on a call for not even a violent call, because the whole neighborhood comes out and starts attacking them and yelling at them and screaming.
Oh yeah, so nowadays they're pulling out their phones and they want to record the whole thing. Right. And everyone wants to exercise their rights to the fullest extent, and they're like, and they're just like, it could be the minorest transaction, and the cop's just trying to do his job. The cops had a great day all day. The cop's in a great mood, you know, but they want to exercise their rights. So they're like, no, you can't see my ID. And no, I know what I can get away with. And it's like the cops, you know, just give the cop your ID. Tell him everything. You know, like people who have nothing to hide are hiding things out of like principle. Like, I have done nothing wrong, but I'm still not telling you anything because that's my right. And you wonder why the cops mad.
They're hoping that what they're hoping for is to get on the news. That's what it is.
Okay. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No matter what, the media is going to stick up for them and make them look like the victim. and it's just
oh,
really
and like
bad.
you know, like I said, the victim mentality. They're hoping like they can make the cop to look out like such a bad guy that maybe their charges get dropped, and you know, in no way from fashion was I doing anything wrong. That cop was just overstepping his bounds. Yeah, see, you're right. You know, like you had, you know, like I don't know, he only found weed on you. That's not wrong.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, I'm always going to defend the police just because I was one. I worked with them, and I still have a lot of friends that are cops, and I know a lot of good people, and the amount of bad people compared to good people is far outweighs it. You know, I've met far worse lawyers in my police career than I did police.
Oh yeah, apparently they're notorious for being, you know, it's like you can they're like what is it, a prosecution lawyer? Like one of them has to be moralist. It's the prosecution lawyer.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it's the defense attorney. They're the ones defending people that are like, you know, like there's no proof he raped those 9 women. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a new development for me. I grew up like listening to punk rock, and I was like, you know, it's like it endorses messages like anarchy and fuck the police and fuck the government. And then like, you know, I was just eating that shit up as a kid, and I was like, you know, fuck establishment. It's okay, you know, like the more raw and anarchy, the better, and like, you know, the cops are the enemy, and you know, fuck the system. And it's just, it took a lot of really thinking about how I feel about it, not what some lyrics told me to feel about it, but how I actually feel about it. And it's like, man, like cops are people. They're trying to get through their shift. A lot of them like are very honorable. They're trying to protect us and shit.
Yeah, and the media has definitely been the you know, I'll just say the gasoline on the flame, you know what I mean? And they're just lighting it, and they're pouring more and more on it. And what's happening is they're not just making people go against the police, they're ruining other people's lives, because people are getting so rebellious now and so forward in the way they go about things.
Like now it's a trend to hate the cops.
Yeah, right.
Like Nickelback.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right.
So and the media really does. And what's weird about the media, or the current state of media, is that they don't even let new media form. They don't let opposing views form. We've seen this. Our show's seen this recently. We had a really big jump. We usually do already in December and November and stuff. We have a really big jump during the winter months for some reason, holidays and stuff. But we had gotten on what was that? Parler. We got on Parler over there. We're promoting the show on Parler, and throughout those November to December, because it's a newer platform, conservative type, you know, but it's newer, and they're not censoring anything. They don't hide posts like a lot of the current platforms will hide your posts if you're not popular enough, you know. But they're not hiding posts. And so we're posting on there, and we are getting, you know, hundreds and thousands of downloads, extra downloads for December was our biggest month of all time, thanks to Parler. And then literally the end of December, or was that the beginning of January, something like that, they get shut down. Parler gets shut down. And
I was just about to ask what Parler is. It began and ended before I even found out about it.
It's kind of back, but the rise has already been kind of stomped out, you know, like. So,
well, didn't I think Apple and Google like take them off their platform, and that's why they
exactly it was because the media kind of focused on that. They're like, oh, they're evil, shut them down, take them down. Parler is promoting Parler is letting too free of speech happen, shut them down.
And you know, it's just crazy, because no matter what, free speech isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. It's just a right. And we should all have the right. Like, if I don't agree with someone politically, whatever their belief is, I'm not going to go over there and hit them on the head or kick them in the nuts and tell them to shut up, you know? I'm going to go up and try to have a dialogue with them, you know, and why do you feel that way? And I've had, you know, political, you know, interactions with people on the web before, and, you know, it's not gotten, you know, violent. I just have a discussion, and they give me their reasons why. And I give them
you being a cop before, like, you have the right to post your opinion on the matter of police in America in this moment, you know, like you're a significant source of information when it comes to that. You're not just like down the road posting his opinion on police. You were a policeman, you know?
And I just think that free speech is something that should scare everybody. If they're, even if it's not your speech that's being squashed. Like, you know, right now, it just seems like the conservative voice is being, you know, cut down, and it's people on the other side are, you know, yeah. But one day your speech is going to be cut by these same people, you know, and it's the government, and it's the big, you know, the big industries, the big tech, and these people with all this big money. And what's funny is I was originally a huge Democrat. I'm from Chicago, you know, but then I just started seeing these changes and I just didn't like it. And I just became an independent, you know, and it's just not the same. I was born in the, you know, 60s, and it's not the Democratic Party I grew up with. And people don't realize that right now. It's, you know, they're feeding our youth with this idea of, you know, free stuff, and, you know, you're the victim, and it's not going to end well. And that's the scary part of it all. And
you know, speaking of, like, my parents grew up Democrat, and it's like the way people talk about conservatives and Republicans now is like the way they talked about being a Democrat back in the day. Like, people were talking about, like, Republicans and conservatives, they're the ones that are the working class and working hard. But it's like I grew up hearing my parents saying, like, the Democrats are the ones about working class and working hard, and don't ask for a handout and you get what you earn. And it's like, I don't know, it's just, it all just makes a loop, you know?
I mean, I was such a Democrat. I went and watched Jimmy Carter speak in the town I was in. And, you know, I wanted to see that. I mean, all my friends were Democrats, and my one friend, Carter, went to their house, and that's where he was speaking at. So she's like, we got to redo our house. And I mean, I was really into it. And, you know, for a young kid in high school, and she was always telling me information about politics. And then, you know, just like I said, as time went on, it just changed, you know, and I just saw it changing. And I don't feel it's Republican or Democrat at all anymore. I feel they're all in.
It isn't. And it's like, when you try to talk about it like that, it can't be split into two parties like that anymore. Right. And it's just you fail when you try to think about politics in the sense of Democrat and Republican. It's just like nothing comes together, because it ain't like that anymore.
It ain't like that anymore. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of Republicans that aren't Republicans, and vice versa on the other side. And, you know,
also, wasn't the subcategories of liberal? And again, like, I'm not the most political person. I've always been like a what? All right. Anyways, moving on. Wasn't the subcategory of like you got Republicans, you got Democrats, but then you got liberals and you got conservatives. Wasn't that so you could kind of have like mixed views? Like you're like a liberal Republican or a conservative Democrat or just straight up hardcore conservative Republican or hardcore liberal Democrat. Weren't you allowed to like make your own combo? You know?
Yeah, right. Well, that's for me. I'm not a registered Democrat or Republican. You know, I vote, but, you know, it's like whoever I feel is going to be right for our country, and I don't identify with either party. So
I can't, like, I call myself independent because, like, it's like because those don't say, you can't go up to a Republican. But like, I'm a liberal Republican. Republicans will be like, yeah, those don't exist. You can't go to a Democrat and be like, I'm a conservative Democrat. They're like, yeah, those don't exist.
I was leaning libertarian for a while, but I don't know if you know who Nicholas Sawwork is, but he was one. I think he was just voted out, or he left. He stepped down, but he was the head chairman of the Libertarian Party. We had him on the show, and I just disagreed with the head chair of the Libertarian Party so badly. I said, maybe I should just go to
maybe I'm not libertarian.
I'll go back to independent because I don't know. I agree with you.
I had some questions earlier. It is like nigh impossible to talk about the police in 2021 and not get political.
Yeah. Okay.
But damn it, I had questions that had nothing to do with politics.
Okay.
I was just wondering. And again, you kind of like talking about politics. You kind of answered the questions. But like, I was just wondering, did you got burnt out on being a cop? Like, you realized it wasn't your passion, or you just like? No,
I got hurt on the job. I got hurt wrestling with a guy and blew my knee out. I had 5 surgeries from it. And
if you could do, and it was the police department. They're like, you're too injured to continue with this line of career.
Well, what happened is,
for a living?
Well, what happened, I had I tore every ligament in my knee. I cracked my kneecap. I broke the top of my fibula all in one injury. And what happened was I had 3 surgeries. They couldn't fix it right. And the problem is all the ligaments in my knee were torn. So being a policeman, you got to be 100%. And if I get in a wrestling match and my knee blows out on me, somebody gets my gun away. What if another policeman gets shot or a citizen gets shot? You can't have that. So they can't bury me in the police department somewhere and make me detective, because then you're going to have all these guys saying, well, I hurt my arm or I hurt this and I want to be detective,
Oh,
so
it's one
of those things.
Despite the joke I made earlier, but like, oh yeah, you're too injured to be a cop, but then you go on to do stunt double. No, I know what you mean, because one's entertainment, one's saving lives, and
Yeah, but remember, movies are totally different. You can always say cut if you get hurt.
I said cut in the middle of that fight, and the criminal, he didn't stop.
Yeah. So the only fight I did in Dark Knight was just choreographed, getting punched, falling on the ground. And then when I did Prison Break, I had this thing where I jump on this guy's back, and basically I'm jumping off a ladder that's 3 feet up in the air onto a 2-foot thick mat. It's not like it's anything crazy,
When you jump on a criminal like that, there's no mat.
Yeah, because you were portraying Sub-Zero while you were a cop, right? Is that inaccurate?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So when I was doing Sub-Zero, I was fine. I was nothing wrong with me. I had no injuries. It was after that when I stopped portraying Sub-Zero that I got injured on the police department. That's when I ended up leaving. But
were your first intentions
cool
to like, if you could do acting and be a cop? Like, were you going to do the Sub-Zero thing, but then as soon as that's done, go back to being a cop?
Well, yeah, because there's a guy there. Well, you know who Dennis Farina is, right? I kind of wanted to be like a Dennis Farina, even though the guy was far more successful than I ever will be. But Dennis Farina was.
I don't know. You have a great resume, man.
And, yeah. So Dennis Farina, what's really funny is I would hear stories about him because my boss on where I worked was friends with Farina's boss before he left the police department.
Yeah.
So we would hear these Dennis Farina stories, and I had an audition for a show that he was in, and he was actually the lead actor in it. So when I did the audition, they liked me and they had me do a callback. So Dennis Farina was there because he was the star, and they wanted to make sure that he agreed with whoever was cast. And so he looked at my resume and he said, "Oh, wow, you were a policeman." I said, "Yeah, 10 years, I was in the Metro." And he goes, "Oh, wow, that's cool." He goes, "I was too." And I said, "Yeah." And I go, and I heard some pretty good stories, and the room got quiet, and he looked up at me and I said, "Oh, they were all good, And then he just kind of shook his head, and I'm thinking, oh man, that was not the right thing to say. He was probably afraid maybe I'd open my mouth on the set or something. But yeah, he was a cool guy. But yeah, so it's bizarre when you go on these auditions, you just don't know what they're looking for. You walk in, they say thank you.
Hope that you got what they're looking for.
Yeah, hope you get the part. But to be an actor, what people don't realize is a lot of times you have to be very secure in yourself, and a lot of actors really aren't, and that's why you see a lot of them explode. You're constantly being rejected. So like I remember at one time when I was in LA, I probably did 40 auditions before I even got a job, and you're rejected on every one of them. You're never told what it was that was wrong or what they didn't like.
That's the worst, man. It'd be 100% different if they told you exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really don't hear any of that. So you don't know what to work on, what to fix. Was it my face? What was it? And that's the thing. So you're going on audition after audition, and you're getting rejected, don't know what it is. And so you finally get a job, and you're like, what's funny is you'll get a job and you're thinking, this is the last job I'll ever get. That audition sucked. And then all of a sudden you walk out and you get a call. Yeah, they loved you. They want you for the part. And you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
So,
you're like,
it's just bizarre, man.
Then I'm sad because that was my worst acting. I totally fucked up there. Still got the job. Just wait till I get on set.
Yeah. So you don't want to do that, And one of the things I realized too is you should try to stay in character even after you leave, a little bit. I mean, you don't want to be a jerk if your role's a jerk, but I remember one time I was, I won't say who it was for, but I was doing a stunt part on the set of one of the TV shows that was in Chicago. And one of the director came by, and I was doing stunt work on it. And he says, I want to use this guy for this part for 2 days. I want to audition your stunt guy. So he lined us all up, and he wanted us all to say this line and be as badass as we could. So he came up to me, and there was like 10 of us in line. And he goes, walks up to me, gets right in my face, and I say the line. He goes, "You're a scary motherfucker." And then I just started laughing. He goes, "Hey, idiot, you just fucking ruined it." And he walked away, and I said, "Wow, I just learned a big lesson right there, you know."
I want to make a comment about how I've been cursing the blue streak since we started because I'm me, and like I have no idea how proper a family man you are. I'm just happy to hear him curse.
Oh my god! Whatever. Oh my god!
I don't know. Like I said, how proper and much of a family man you are, and I'm sure the more I cursed, the more like, God, this guy's a degent.
Oh
and
my god!
He said, "Fuck." Well, I was like, "Oh, it's okay." Sub-Zero curses too.
Well. I was quoting this director.
Oh yeah, see, that's just it. I was like, man, like I'm probably like,
he will never quote me.
I have such a potty mouth.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody now and then drops the F-bomb, you know. It just happens, you know. You just every now and then it's blah blah blah.
Yeah, oh man, like also cool, like man. When I drink, man, like curse words become like, what do they call those words you put in to give yourself time? What'd you say? The like how people say and or spacers or whatever.
Yes.
I use curse words for that.
They become fillers and adjectives, you know.
I use curse words for that.
But I can't believe. So did he use you, or you said, "Are you just messed up?"
No, he just said because I laughed. He says, you know, that's why he said, he goes, you just fucked that up, and walked over to the next guy, and he ended up using another guy 2 people down from me. I was like the third one from the end, so he ended up using
you're
the
right,
last
dude.
guy.
That would like cripple my confidence and shit. You know, someone told me
well,
that.
It did in a way, but in a way it taught me a big lesson. You know, is don't come out of character and just stay in character, especially like in a scene. Like a lot of people will just stop doing it if they think they messed their line up. And you just keep going because you never know. The director might like what you're doing. And that's the thing. People a lot of times screw themselves up. And when you screw something up, you always just keep going. You act like nothing happened.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Like, second guessing yourself, breaking character, and then like wondering and having that staying in character and just forgetting about what you just did is a lot more acceptable than breaking character and trying to be like, oh, like, should I do something different? Or maybe I should have done that. It's like, oh, it's like you broke character. You're wasting all these other actors' time. And even if you did something slightly messed up, it would have been a lot better to them had you not break character and kept going.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's the thing, you know, you always stay in character no matter what. And you know, a lot of guys, especially, you know, people don't realize it's hard to be the star of a show, but it's also hard to be what I've done a lot of, what are called day players. You know, you're on there for 1 or 2 days. You got, you know, one character that you're playing, because when you get on set, you can't screw up. You know, the lead actor is going to, I remember I was on set for, I won't say who was, but just kept screwing up constantly. And I'm just like,
oh man,
it actually put me at more ease just because this guy's screwing up so much. But you're just under a lot of stress because you walk into a cold environment. You know, you're on there, no one knows you, and you got this scene, and you got to go right on with the star of the show or the movie, and you got to be right on and do it right. And you know, if you keep screwing up, it's, hey, they're going to kick you out of there. You know, so people don't realize the stress that's on you when you're just a day player, because you got to go in there, even if you got a few lines, you got to make it work. And the thing is, you don't want to draw too much attention to you either. You know, you're not on there to be the star. You're on there to carry the story. And you don't want to be this guy that's going to steal the show from the lead actor. I mean,
I'm always somewhere between, like, I have absolutely zero confidence or the biggest ego in the world. So either like, oh man, I'll never get the part. And the moment I get the part, I'll be like, of course I'm getting more spotlight than the star. You know? Oh God, I'd be a horrible actor.
Yeah. But if you just got to, like, what they call like an under 5 day player, where your line is to move the story along, you don't want to do anything like crazy where you're gonna, like, I mean, you want to stand out, but you want to,
but you don't want to be like the most memorable character of the episode or whatever, you know.
Yeah. The blooper character.
Yeah, the blooper character.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Hey, it's been awesome talking to you. I don't know if you had anything else to add, or if you had anything else you wanted to plug or talk about that we may have missed. We chatted about a lot today. You portrayed all the ninjas. You portrayed Sub-Zero the most, and Scorpion. But which one do you prefer, Sub-Zero or Scorpion? Are you Sub-Zero all the way?
So I'm Sub-Zero all the way. Scorpion, I just they needed a Scorpion, and I just filled in for him and did them. And
I mean, like you were unmasked as Sub-Zero. You are Sub-Zero. You know, Scorpion. Right. Because of your talents, you can portray anyone with a mask on, but you're Sub-Zero. Mask off. You know.
Right. Yeah, right. That's what was cool. I was the only one really demasked,
Absolutely.
You could see my face.
And I remember how big of a deal that was. Oh, Sub-Zero doesn't have a mask this game.
Yeah.
And another big thing to say is that so I guess the director said that if this Mortal Kombat movie does really well, the second movie will be more based off of Johnny Cage. Is going to have Johnny Cage in more of a lead role. And Johnny Cage, he's an actor. He's going to be doing movie stuff. And I just think, what a perfect time to bring in some cameos.
Oh yeah.
I agree, man. Hopefully they'll do that.
I think someone needs to start up one of them
petitions.
One of them, campaigns, one of the petitions. Get the OG cast in the sequel. We got to do this for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds
we
good,
gotta make
man.
it happen for you, John Turk.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
I want to say, and I guess this is an insult to other guests, but like I've had a lot of fun talking to you. Like I was very interested. Like Mortal Kombat's a huge passion of mine. Like I said, I have a huge respect. And again, it's newly found, but I have a huge respect for the law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it's to find out like before being Sub-Zero, you were a cop. I was like, oh, I love this guy.
Yeah. He's excited. This is his first.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
This is his first Mortal Kombat family Mortal Kombat person, because we previously we have like multiple co-hosts. Right now Keenan's the main co-host, and previously we did have Joe McHale who voiced Johnny Cage. Then we have Michael Jai White who was Jax in the in Mortal Kombat Afterlife, and
I don't know why they didn't use him again.
He's Joe McHale voiced Johnny Cage. Huh? The dude from Community?
Yes, he voiced Johnny Cage.
When?
In the anime movies.
It's not important. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I like Michael Jai White. I think he's pretty good dude. He's legit, and I don't know why they use some other guy. I don't know who he is. He might be good too, but he's
for the upcoming Spawn?
No, for Jax.
Oh yeah, Michael Jai White was Jack, dude. It's been like 20 years since the last.
I don't think they used him again. I think they used some other guy.
Yeah.
But it's like Michael Jai White totally could have done that role again.
He could have.
Yeah,
they could.
It's about like the whole this is like practically a soft reboot, and it's like you don't want to use the original actors for the soft reboot,
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's good, man. Hopefully they keep making more of them, and they'll put us in there. It would be great. So,
heck yeah. We loved having you on. Thank you so much for helping us add you to our Mortal Kombat collection. It is the one and only Sub-Zero. Thanks again, John Turk. We're going to be posting
It was an honor meeting you.
We post our episodes on Thursdays, so we'll make sure to send you the links, and we actually have some art. Hopefully they do you right. But we do have some art being made in what's it called? I'm trying to say basically in honor of our Mortal Kombat weeks, because we're having back-to-back Mortal Kombat stuff, and so we have some cool art being made.
Mortal Kombat marathon, for lack of a better word.
And you're gonna be in there. It's gonna be unmasked. It's unmasked Sub-Zero. So if they get you wrong, at least it's unmasked.
Yeah. So we know if they get you wrong, calm down. I didn't draw it. No.
That's cool. I got you. Yeah. It was great talking with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun, and I like the off the cuff stuff, and it was real good, man. So yeah, cool.
Awesome. Man, we'd love to for some reason have you back on again.
Yeah. Maybe next time I'll have a drink with me, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What are you guys drinking?
Yeah. Today's beer of the day was the Knights Who Say Neipa.
It stands for New England Indian Pale Ale,
but it's based off of. Have you ever seen
the Knights of the Holy Grail?
Monty Python.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
This is Monty Python
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was
it's
a
like
great
some
show,
super hazy IPA. It's so thick you can't even see through it.
Yeah. It looks like orange juice.
Oh, and it's very citrusy. It tastes a lot like
orange juice. That's right. Well, when you first held up your glass, I said he's drinking a vodka orange juice, because that's what it looks like.
I can tell by the slurring. No, it's a very potent beer. I'm kind of buzzed right now. I'm gonna lie, John.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's all right, man.
But
more
the
entertaining, right?
I don't know who makes it, but Platoon. It's Pontoon Brewing. Over there is on the East Coast, obviously hazy. That's where they come from. But yeah, we were looking for a good ninja beer or but Knights was close to ninjas and Sub-Zero. Knights and good enough. Yeah. But thanks again for having
awesome.
for you being on. Is there anything you would like to plug before we end?
Just I guess I'll plug my website, thefearlessfitness.com, if people want workout programs, especially now with COVID and the gyms are finally reopening. You can buy an online program and on my website, and nutrition plans too. So if anybody's interested in that, I got a couple people already wanted a plan from Sub-Zero, so it was kind of funny when I put that video out. So yeah, I mean it's I love health and fitness. I'm all about longevity and living a healthy life and eating right and working out, and that's probably why I've stayed younger looking over the years. So
you look younger than me. That's why I wear makeup and hair. Yeah,
I don't care.
I like the look though. I like the look. I like the.
Well, our show actually has like a storyline, and so that's where this came from. But basically, I came up with this look because we went to go interview a gothic rock band, and I said we look too normal for them. Yeah. We're gonna make them uncomfortable.
So he dons this.
So I put this on to look weird like they do, and it's stuck ever since. It just
He's never taken it off.
Awesome, man. Sleeps with it, showers with it, everything, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Awesome, man.
All right. Have a great night, man.
Have a great night. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Opinions and Beer. You just heard our interview with John Turk. How was that? Was that fun, Keenan?
Dude, it was.
Really awesome. And now
it really was.
But now it's time for the beer of the day. And today's beer of the day is from Pontoon Brewing. It is the Knights Who Say Neipa.
The Knights that say knee?
The Knights Who Say Neipa.
The Knights that say knee?
This is a beer based off the Knights Who Say Knee.
Question. Do you think they have to pay royalties to Monty Python?
No. Monty Python and the Holy Grail beer. This came at 8. This came at 8% in alcohol by volume at 32 IBUs. Serving temperature recommended at 40 to 45 degrees.
Cold.
So cold. Maybe that was our issue. It started warming up.
Then is it because of the parody contrast and laws?
Oh, probably.
Ah, yeah, it's a
parody.
But
craft beer people, they get away with so much stuff, mainly because a lot of these beers are limited.
Yeah,
and so for some reason, somehow limited beer releases don't get in trouble like
exactly. Now, should a certain what's the name of the brewing company?
Pontoon.
Now, should a certain podcaster get a hold of the Monty Python crew and let them know of the ongoings of Pontoon Brewery, there might be a law case.
Perhaps. This is a Georgia beer brewed and canned in Sandy Springs, Georgia. Pontoon Brewing Company. We haven't had too many stuff from Pontoon, I don't think, because they're from Georgia. I had to go to Louisiana to buy this beer.
We haven't had too much Georgia beer here down in Texas.
This is a
Georgia.
This is a thick New England hazy IPA. This is a classic. This is actually a two classic. It's almost milkshakey. It seems
no. I've had. Dude, that's like.
It seems unfiltered.
If it's milkshakey, like you're talking about an orange juice milkshake.
No, yeah, milkshake is thick. Thick means milkshake.
No, milkshake means milkshake.
Some beers.
Orange juice is thick.
Some beers.
It's a very citrusy, very hazy IPA. Looks like you're pouring yourself a glass of orange juice. It's thick, but milkshake is not the term that comes to mind.
I think thicker beers with lactose in it might also be milkshake IPAs. Maybe that's what the big difference is. That makes it not a milkshake.
But do you taste the milky, or not taste, but do you feel the milky texture? Like you feel the
what, lactose?
The lactose, which adds to that milky thick texture.
Yeah,
that's not here.
I'm saying this is a New England IPA, but has the thickness of a milkshake IPA.
It has the thickness
of the milkshake style IPA. Of the
style, IPA.
God.
Damn it, man. Like, I know, the only milkshakey beer I have to go on wasn't even a milkshake IPA. The milkshake beer of the beer world is goddamn a Scottish ale.
I give this beer a 3 out of 10.
Jesus Christ, bro. It was not that bad.
You're right.
Despite its negative aspects, it's all like half my negative aspects was with the aesthetics. You know, like some of my beer spilt over in the sink and it looked like mucus. There's like chunks in it and shit.
Exactly.
You know?
I every time I may have a different experience than you, but every time I drank it, I had to during the interview, I had to stop myself from coughing and choking because I was getting gagged by fucking particles.
I find again,
and I usually like unfiltered.
And I've found throughout our opinions and beer escapades that I am a huge fan of very thick, hazy IPAs.
Okay, I am too. Just this one was,
but no beer should have pulp.
Yeah, I don't want pulp in my beer.
Like I get it, it's citrusy. You don't need chunks of the goddamn fruit you made it with. You know?
I mean, the taste was fine.
Isn't that what pulp is? It's like literally chunks of little segments of.
I'll give it a 4 out of 10 because my fives are reserved for things I'd buy again. I would not pay what I paid for this beer again. I would not buy this beer again.
You're talking about, man, we spend so much time. For me, almost the only time I drink is on this show.
Yeah.
Like I've by a mental effort tried to slow down on my drinking. And I figured the best way, because we do this show so much, and it's like the best way to do that is
it's pulpy orange juice.
Yeah, I know, man. That gets you drunk.
It has a low bitterness and it's still like bitter.
Yeah,
like biting a dang banana peel.
It's not. It's the pulpiness that's making it bitter, not the beer itself.
I know.
It is pretty bad. No, no, but I know what you mean. But it's like you're almost going by a logic that I can't get behind because I don't know about you. I don't know about your own personal beer drinking habits, but I do not drink beer almost at all outside of this podcast. So you're like you're saying like I would reserve 5 for a beer that I'd buy again, like for my own personal consumption, not a opinions and beer episode. And it's like I don't even think about beer in that concept. Like if it's not for an opinions and beer episode, then I'm not fucking drinking it.
So what would you rate this beer?
5.
A 5.
Yeah.
He rates this beer a 5. This was a not so good beer, but for a great episode, a great interview with John Turk, literal Sub-Zero. We talked to Sub-Zero. He is being added to our Mortal Kombat roster that we are slowly but surely building. A 6 out of 10.
6.
A 6. He would buy this again.
Because I did. I enjoyed drinking it throughout the episode. Like, we were sitting there talking to John, and I'm a huge fan of very thick, hazy IPAs. Very citrusy IPAs.
Yeah.
Like a good old alcoholic glass of orange juice. You know? And I did not, there's nothing unenjoyable about it the whole time. I was like drinking on this beer. I was very much enjoying the beer. And of course, very much enjoying the interview. And you drink like what, 1 beer throughout the whole episode?
Yep.
Yeah, like dude, I finished mine, popped open another one, it exploded.
Yeah.
And then I finished mine and I wanted another one. Like you can't give it below a 5 if you want another one when you finish it.
Well, that's just your opinion.
That's so fucking rude.
And that's fine,
facts, bro.
Because all we have here are
opinions
and beer. God damn it.
We are opinions and beer.